Good morning. Good morning. It is 8:12 a.m. on Father's Day 2025, and I'm driving again. You know me, I like to drive and talk. You all keep me great company. I want to talk about Father's Day. Father's Day. Who cares? I care. So, welcome to Midlife Priceless. I hope you're having a great start to your Father's Day, whether you are a father or someone celebrating a father or an uncle or a grandfather, or we always say other mother when we really should say other father along with it. And I just realized you all could hear me better if just maybe. There we go. Sorry, I had my radio off because I had my Bluetooth on, and yes, I'm out of practice because, as you may know, it's been a minute since I've been live, and I would swear there was something crawling on my glasses, but I guess not. Anyway, happy Father's Day to you. Oh, look, there's a motorcycle right behind me. I met a guy, I just came from Buc-ee's, and I'm just outside of Savannah. And I met a I had stopped so I could sneeze. I don't know why I can't walk and sneeze. Yes, there is something on my glasses, and I saw him just now. Saw it just now. It's very annoying when you see a bug crawling on across your lens. I guess it's gone now. Anyway, yeah, so I want to talk about fathers this morning. And yes, I'm on the road. Don't talk about my messy car. It's not messy, it's just well packed. Father. Are you a father? People talk so much about Mother's Day, and I think we've gotten it to a point now where we just don't do justice for the fathers, and we could do better. So this is my effort as an individual to do better. And this morning I started driving around 3 o'clock this morning, and I was thinking about Father's Day. What does it mean? What are we supposed to be grateful for? What is the importance of Father's Day? What was my own father like? What are some of the stories about him that make me smile? And I think what really kicked it off for me is the fact that I was filling out some paperwork, and old school questions, name of your parents, mother and father, and for the first time in my life, I've ever had to write the word deceased for the both of them. It's not that it's new as a situation or a status, but it's the first time I ever had been compelled or required to write that down. And it really touched me to know that my parents are gone. And they did such a beautiful job with all of us in the family. And I don't mean just me and my sisters. I'm talking about also the extended family, friends of the family. And it's not uncommon for baby boomers to no longer have their parents with them. So it's nothing that you feel bad about unless you are still in mourning, which I would just say to anyone, you mourn as long as you need to. Don't let anyone tell you to get over it. You get over it when you want to get over it, and when you can't get over it, and when you are finished the process of mourning, because it is a process. But on to something lighter of note. Was a Navy veteran. He believed in family. He had a wonderful sense of humor. He had a wonderful singing voice. Stubborn in many ways, but always family first, no matter what. Never, never, never did you doubt, or did we doubt, that my father would not do what he had to do to keep things going and for us to be safe, fed, all the things, you know. And one of the early, from a blended family, I should say that. And one of the reasons I'm telling you that is the story I'm about to share. Yes, it's story time. And it always touches me when I look back at it. In our family, we didn't get caught up in the titles about, you know, half this, step that, and all of those things. But when our parents married, I remember asking my father, what should I call you? I didn't know what to call him. I really didn't. I felt he would be my dad, and I could call him daddy, but it was still new. My mother did not expose me, and he, on his side, did not expose his daughter either to the whole dating process. They had decided to be married when we met. So I knew that he would be my new daddy, as they say, but I could not figure out what to call him right off the rip. So I said, what am I supposed to call you? And I was a little girl. I'm trying to remember my age at that point, maybe 6, 7 years old, something like that. But I remember very distinctly asking him, what should I call you? Because until then, I had been calling him Mr. Brooks. And my mom she didn't play that uncle this game either, that he's not your uncle. So she didn't call him that, or she did not instruct me to call him that. So he said, well, what do you want to call me? And then, of course, now I want to back out of it. I said, like what? And he said, well, you've been calling me Mr. Brooks. Do you want to keep calling me that? Or do you want to call me Dad or Daddy? Or what do you want to call me? And I said, I want to call you Daddy. He said, well, I'll tell you what. When you get ready to call me that, I will be very happy to hear you say it. He never pushed for me to say it. He never required or instructed. He left it all up to me, which empowered me to love him. Love is not something you can enforce. It is something you earn, and it is something you hold sacred. And that is what I remember about him the most. The empowerment of love. Because he was just such the loving man. As time went on, he would become my personal hero, my everything, my secret squirrel buddy, all the things. And anything he suggested, I would do or try. From diving off of the diving board, the highest board, and he said, you want to go up there? I said, yeah. He said, well, you can do it if you want to. I mean, something happens, I'm right here. I know how to swim, so go on and dive. Now, my mother was not a fan of that, but the fearlessness in me came because of the fearlessness in him. He didn't allow maybe he was afraid, but he never let me see it. And he was of the thought that anything I wanted to do, I could do, so I did. I walked up to the highest board. You have to climb up back in those days. I don't know what kind of diving board they have now for the young people, but this is old school 1970s diving boards. You had to climb that aluminum ladder with your bare, wet feet, no water shoes or whatever they're calling, aqua socks, and none of that existed for us then. And so I climbed up there, and I remember looking down, and I saw him, and he smiled at me, and he said, are you ready? And I said, yeah, I'm ready. He said, well, let's go. And I curled my body up into a tight ball off the diving board, and I curled myself up into this tight little ball, and I remember plunging into that water, and it was amazing. One moment, please. Okay, I had to turn off my notifications again. the brain doesn't always remember every little thing. I need to get, if I did this more often, it would probably come naturally. So anyway, I plunged into the water. And that was the other thing. He said, well, whatever you do, don't go belly down because you'll bust open. I really believed that I would bust open, you know. And so I curled into that ball and I dove off, and it was wonderful. And I did that continuously. You know, once you do it, you got to keep doing it. And I remember we were in Virginia Beach, and I just kept diving off of that board into the pool. The other memory I have of my dad that is so distinct to me is when I had a loose tooth. Military father. He tied a string. He kept watching me, you know, working it with my tongue, trying to make it come out, and it wouldn't come out. And he said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. He said, I'm going to tie a string to it, and when I push the door shut, it'll take the tooth out. Well, I had not processed all of what that might mean because I was too busy doing what he wanted me to do. Talk about trust, right? He tied that string to my tooth. He was a general contractor, so he had that kind of stuff around the house. And then he tied it to the other end to the doorknob. And he said, all right now, it'll be gone before you know it. Are you ready? I said, yes. And I'm so happy to get this damn tooth out of my mouth. Well, my mother had come home, and I didn't know it, and we didn't hear her, I guess. But just as he hit the door to, bam, shut the door, she's walking in, and she screams because she sees this whole mechanical process with my tooth on a string. She hollers. He turns around. I holler. I don't even know what she's hollering about. I didn't know it was going to hurt, and it didn't hurt. Her response got me upset, and I think I might have cried for a minute because I thought I was supposed to, not that it actually hurt or anything. And so, the trust. So, I enjoyed the empowerment of love. I appreciated that, and the trust. Love and trust. The third thing I remember about my dad, or the third story, was when I broke that trust. Because me and my friend Missy, who lived down the road, we decided we wanted to smoke cigarettes. So I stole. Yes, I stole. Here's my confession. What Usher says, these are my confessions. I stole cigarettes out of my father's carton, because he always kept it back in those days. He bought them by the carton, and he had some cigarettes in there. Sometimes he might have had one that was open, you know, a pack of cigarettes open or something, and it was just in there. I took a cigarette. No, I took more than one. I think maybe 2 or 3 cigarettes, and I put it in my sock. And then Missy and I met outside, and we walked into the woods with some matches. Second problem. And we lit up our cigarettes, and we stood there smoking. I have never been so bored in all my life. A cigarette. And just standing there smoking and looking at each other. I mean, there was just no story. We didn't giggle. We didn't choke. I don't even think we were inhaling, because if we inhaled, we should have been choking. I know I didn't choke, so I know I didn't inhale. So I had come back in the house, and I guess in my haste in trying to get away from him so he wouldn't smell the smoke, I rushed past him down the hall to my bedroom and did not realize a cigarette had fallen out, the other cigarette had fallen out of my sock. The next thing I know, he's calling my name, and it did not sound like friendly fire. When I get down the hall, he said, have you been smoking? And I said, no. Lying, lying, lying. First part of the trust I broke. Lies. second of all, stole from him cigarettes. But I mean, it's not like you could ask for one, right? So anyway, I could hear my parents talking later on that night, and my father is losing it about me stealing a cigarette and smoking it. And just you would think I had just, I don't know, robbed the bank. But he carried on. He did not like the stealing, and he certainly did not like the dishonesty. My mother tried to defend me, and he told her he didn't want to hear it, and he was hurt by that. And I never lied to him again. Never. Never lied to him, even when he didn't want to hear it. Now, since the sin of omission, I might have committed that a few times. But if he asked me a question, I always told him the truth. Which brings up, I'm going to go forward, then I got to go back again. Which brings up the next time he saw me with a cigarette, I was in college with him. And by then, he used to smoke Salem's, or what was that? He used to smoke. I can't even remember. But when I decided I wanted to really smoke, I was going to get Vincent and Hedges, mainly because I like the design on the package, that ornate green. It just looks so sophisticated to me. I'm just being honest. I mean, when I look back at it now, it's just foolishness. But I honestly thought I was, fashionable holding on to this cigarette. And of course, I got menthol to make sure that I could, I could just, make an impression, I guess. And the menthol cooled the mouth and all the things they told us on TV commercials. And back then, you did have TV commercials about cigarettes. So I sit down in front of my dad, and I said, well, Dad, I'm smoking now. He cracks up laughing. He said, oh, again? Because he realizes I didn't smoke the first time. I was just showing off. So he said, okay, so let me see you smoke. So I pulled out a cigarette, and I lit it. And he's already cracking up because he said, this is just so silly. Why are you smoking? I said, because it's just something to do. It's like having a drink, but I don't drink like that, which I did. But anyway, you're lying. You're in college. Okay, so I lied to the man. It was a sin of omission. I'm putting it in that column because it was harmless. Anyway, so I just started, I had worked out this way where I could look like I was inhaling when in truth I wasn't. But I was lighting and smoking and puffing, and he just laughed about it, and that was pretty much it. But I think I restored his faith in me that I knew what I did or did not want to do. Long story short, off we go. So the next time I remember my father and I having an experience that was all our own was we went to Paris for a vacation. This is not when he was in the military. This is when my mom taught for Department of Defense. And sorry, my seatbelt is always annoying me because it gets caught in my jacket. So we go to Paris and we go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I swear to God, as we continue to, it's a circular staircase you're going, it's all stone, okay, fine, but I could feel the lean. It was very subtle, but I could feel it. And I stopped on the stairs, and my dad looked at me. He said, are you okay? I said, yeah. And then I tried to keep going, but I caught myself touching the wall as if I was afraid, as if I could hold it up somehow. And he said to me, if you are uncomfortable and you don't like this, then let's go down. I said, no, I can do it, because I wanted so much to do what he felt I should have been able to do, or, he wanted to show me something and expose me to culture and those kinds of things. But I was honestly afraid. And he said, listen, and you look at me, if you don't want to go, we're not going. And that's all there is to it. He said, I don't have to way to the top and look down, other than the fact that you want to go. If you don't want to go, we're not going. And don't you feel bad. I will walk back down with you. So he said, you just hold my hand and let's go. And we walked back down. And we sat down there and we waited for my sister and my mom to go up and come back down. And while we were waiting, he simply talked about other things to make sure that I understood it was nothing to him. What was more important to him was that I felt secure, I felt safe, and that I wasn't afraid. He didn't like that to put that in us, the fear of saying you don't want something or to say no thank you. And I think then our trust level went up yet again exponentially. And it takes time, and that's what quality time really is all about with your children, whether you're a father, a mother, aunt, uncle, what have you, cousin. Spending time with them to know what their insecurities are, their strengths, and their weaknesses. So if you fast forward, I'm trying to debate if I want to tell this story or not, which is when he found out that I was a woman now. I waited a long time before I gave it up. And when I did, I was honest and naive enough to have left behind my identification information, phone number included, only to find that I'd left my eyeglasses behind. And they called the house and left a message with my father that I had left my eyeglasses in the hotel. He wouldn't make a big deal about it. I was in college by then, and he just looked at me and said, wherever you've been, you've left your eyeglasses. He wouldn't say where. He knew where. And I looked at him. I said, oh, okay. And I left it right there. I never said, we didn't get into it anywhere past that. What's interesting to me right now is I turned off all my notifications, and somehow, I've managed to still be getting notifications. Sorry about that if it's going dull or whatever happens, or it's pausing when I get those notifications. So time would go on. There are some other stories, many, many, many stories. The first time he knew that I'd been drinking wine and all the things. I went to a party and he had to come and get me because I didn't leave like my sister told me to. There's so many, 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 many stories. But they all led to his trust in me, the strength of our relationship. I remember my dad telling me not to, to put on something that looked decent, a young man taking you out. How come you're dressed like that? I mean, he was very frank with me, forthcoming, and again, the trust. And I would have an opportunity to pay it back when years later he would become a stroke patient. He struggled with so many things with his health, and he did not want me to see him as a weak man. I think that concerned him more than anything. But what I did to level that off for us, me and him both, was I tried to let him know that that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you, not just expect of you, but to give back to you all the things that you put into me. So all of this I'm telling you, not because I want to glorify my dad. Everybody loves their father, I hope so, or have love for a parent, and they can relate to what I'm saying. But to understand the importance of having family, of having both parents involved, even if the parents are not together, they have to be of one accord, in my opinion, one accord, and work together for the betterment of this little person that you're raising, this little person that will become an adult that you. Oh, don't tell your grandma. If it is the truth, it is the truth. Okay? And be upstanding. Don't expose your children to things they aren't ready to receive or things they can't understand. And call a thing a thing. Call it what it is. He's not your uncle. Go back to that story I just told, that little story. And by the way, Brady Parrish, thank you for saying that. I really did not want to get off into that because I didn't want to lose my train of thought. But thank you for that. Good morning. And if you are a father or a father-to-be or a father hopeful, happy Father's Day to you. But that's really all I wanted to say about Father's Day. And I hope that I've given you some things to think about, some things to appreciate differently. You know, you name it. It's there if you look for it. If you want love, support, affection, trust, all of those values play into the relationship we have with our parents when those relationships are strong and being built over time. If you're going into a marriage where the children are already here with us and you're going to be in a blended family, just give the child time. It takes time to become the parent that they love and adore. Just like it took you time to love and adore your spouse. It's not a light switch, right? So that's really everything I wanted to say. And again, happy Father's Day. And I hope you do something special. And that you get a gift other than a tie or a pair of socks that you can enjoy. That would be great. And that's about it. So you have a great day. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.